booties for black girl nerds.
The good Dr. Kamealoha. You've made me very, very happy with this series. It captured two things that were very important to me in my life. I love Doogie Howser growing up, of course. And my college roommate and tons of people I went to school with were from Hawaii. I had tons of Hawaiians in my dorm. And so this allowed me to kind of relive some of those wonderful aloha moments that I had with them, living with them. When you were shaping Dr. Kamealoha, what was the jumping off for you? Where did you start when crawling into the head of this character and building her to what we ultimately see?
Yeah, I mean, I think that is sort of a multifaceted question. For me, a big part of developing Lahela was my personal experience growing up in a professional setting. You know, I'm not a doctor, but I am an actor. And so I obviously have sort of the teenage aspect of her life on lock. I know a lot about growing up and liking boys and having friends and going to dances and parties and that side of things. And then her professional side, I really drew from my experience being a young person in an adult dominated world and having these adult responsibilities and expectations placed on you as a young person. And also navigating between those two worlds and when to sort of try to fit into your environment and when it's good to stand out and how to sort of find yourself somewhere in between those two worlds. So that was definitely a jumping off point for me, was just my personal experience with that duality and juxtaposition. And then, you know, a lot of research. I did a lot of Googling and WebMDing for all of the medical monologues. And I spoke a lot with the doctor we had on set whenever we shot the medical scenes. And, you know, learning from the local cast and crew as much as I could about what it means to live in Hawaii and grow up in Hawaii, and through sort of immersing myself in the culture and in the, you know, the incredible landscapes of Hawaii. I think all those things really combined to create who Lahela is, because it was always very important to me to portray her in the most authentic way possible.
For sure. I'm glad you mentioned that, because think about medical terms, you know, it's already a talent and ability to act, but to then you add into all these medical terms that are very foreign. Some are long, some are knowing how to reach, and just even the choreography that comes with being a doctor. What type of tips did they give you for giving that authentic doctor feel?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the biggest part of that was, you know, the research and the YouTube videos, and obviously talking to the doctor on set, you know, because I think, at least for me, when it came to memorizing these lengthy pieces of dialogue that had all of these medical jargony terms, it really came down to understanding what I was saying. Okay, what part of the body is this? What does this mean if this is wrong with it, you know? And once I sort of fully, or obviously not fully because I'm not a doctor, but as much to the extent that I could understand what Lahela is talking about, that really helped with saying these lines and memorizing them. And then, you know, just watching videos and understanding what I was doing when it came to sort of the actiony aspects of it, because I think it really is important. You have to buy into this idea of a teenage doctor fully to enjoy the show. So that was, you know, there was a lot of pressure there, but it was very important for me.
I thought you were wonderful. I mean, just to do all 1 minute, you're talking about this boy who you want to get to know next. It's please bring him in. Let's check his vitals. And it was, and I was into it. I was feeling it.
Oh, good. I'm so glad.
Lastly, beautiful locale, opportunity for new experience. Are you a surfer now? Are you ready to add the surfboard to the resume, just in case you have to pull it out again in the future?
Yeah, I mean, luckily my dad's a big surfer and my brother's a big surfer, and I sort of grew up going with my dad surfing. So I had a little bit of surfing experience before we shot all the surf stuff. So it was really fun to sort of hone in on that and get better.
This is like a dream. Great series, great locale, great cast, leading role. Congratulations. This is very, very cool and quite an accomplishment for you. Thank you so much for your time.
Oh gosh, thank you.
Thank you for your time and for this show. It brought me so much joy. It was so fun. It was interesting. It had great people, and I loved the kind of yin and yang of you guys' characters. You know, we have this loving guy who is romantic. We have this driven doctor who is focused, and together you guys make a wonderful, wonderful unit. Kathleen, beginning with you, I've been talking to your cast and with your showrunner about you all connecting with each other, and before you shooting the pilot, coming together to set intentions and being together and paying respect to the land. Can you tell me a little more about that?
Oh, well, we shot the Kamealoha house was actually a house owned by this lovely couple on Waimanalo Beach in Oahu, Hawaii. And they had a dog that was like a beautiful white lab that was this beautiful dog, and they had a tortoise that lived in the backyard, a really huge tortoise named Henry. And it was just this really amazing household to begin with. We all actually met in person, the family, at this house, and got to just kind of run some lines together and get to know each other a little bit before we started shooting anything. And then on the first day of shooting, before we shot anything, there was a Hawaiian blessing that took place where all cast crew gathered together on the beach in front of this house and watched the sunrise. And there was a priest who blessed the production. And it was so beautiful. So it was such an amazing experience to work with these people specifically in this place specifically and on this show specifically, because it was it's a beautiful show about family and about female empowerment. I mean, all these things, all these boxes were checked that I just was beside myself with gratitude for being able to be a part of something like this. So yeah, it was pretty cool.
The whole thing about this is very, very cool. I can't think of a single thing that made me go, I don't know, but it was very warm and it got me in right away. Jason, beginning with you, I was thinking about how everything that comes from Hawaii, it's either something with a mystery or crime or solving, or it's somebody going to the island is super duper romantic. But here we get more the day-to-day lives of these people who just happen to have this wonderfully intelligent, highly evolved child who is just outpacing her peers. Tell me about your experiences with shooting the show and how meaningful it was to do it in this locale for you.
I think, being raised in Hawaii and bringing to the forefront these cultural things, as well as having a mixed marriage and the diversity of that, and the things that the young kids are into, what they get into. It's really fascinating because there's so many things in Hawaii that are particularly Hawaiian that young kids can do. And in one of the episodes, we have hula and stuff, and we have surfing, and we have all these neat little things that are so culturally local, and the diversity of our child prodigy being a genius doctor, set in Hawaii. And there's so many facets of that, and because Hawaii is also, what people don't know, is also an international gathering place. So there's so many other aspects of that can be, added to the show. So and that's, our cast is as diverse as it gets, and it's welcomed, and it's cool, and it's got that aloha spirit going on. It's got that warmth.
Well, I love the aloha spirit. It made me think I was going to open my door and somebody was going to be making some spam and wasabi all the door. It really took me back for a second. Thank you so much for your time. This is really a cool show, and I can't wait to see have folks see it and we can discuss it. Thank you again.
Cool.
Thank you so much.
Take care. Thank you, guys. I'm excited to talk to you because this seems like almost like a dream job. Great locale, great series, great cast, and it just was overall very, very enjoyable for me. I had a great time watching it. Emma, beginning with you, everybody needs a friend like Steph in their life to, to ride or die. What do you think is the best quality that Emma has that keeps her friend, the good doctor, from not being too serious and too old too fast?
Yeah, Steph is she's very bold. She loves to make an entrance. She's extremely creative. And I think she really helps like balance out Lahela. Helps her like stay in this world of like being a teenager and letting things be light and fun and crazy. Because this world of like being a medical doctor can really take a toll on her, like emotionally and spiritually even. So Steph is just like she's always going to be her biggest cheerleader, and every girl could use a best friend like Steph for sure. Like she's so loyal.
Yes, I could not agree. I need another Steph. I got one. I need another one.
Good.
Matt, for you, for Kai, we all need that family around us that's going to keep that realness for us. Is that fair to say about him? Keeping it real, keeping her down to earth.
Yeah, he totally does. And having a sister as smart as Lahela, it's like, what do you have to give as an older brother? And it's pretty cool to see how he is still able to help her. And even though she's so smart and she's like a human calculator, a human dictionary, she still struggles with her own emotions and how to deal with, things that her parents, the crap that her parents give her and stuff like that. And Kai's already been through it. So there's a lot of stuff, a lot of ways that he can kind of guide her and help her, and she kind of helps him. And yeah, like a little team.
It's a great team. Wes, for Brian, are we doing chest hair checks today? Do we have any more popping, any new chest hairs today? Did you check? Well, the younger brother is essential. The younger brother keeps us on our toes. I always wanted one. What do you think is the best thing that Brian does for his genius big sister?
Well, I think, first of all, Brian is hilarious.
Yes.
He's always funny, and I think he looks up to his older siblings a lot. Same with his parents. But at the same time, he doesn't like try to visibly show it as much. And he's also sort of a balance with the comedy, a lot like a balance between the comedy and the drama on the show.
He is cool. He's almost like a little truth sayer. We always need one of those, just to keep us going. And lastly, Emma, for Steph, what's Steph adventure? Is Steph gonna get a little romance by the end of this season?
I don't know, maybe. I feel like she's really manifesting it for herself. She's really she's already put it in the universe. She already has said, yeah, Kai and I are getting married. We're getting married. So I think she's just kind of putting it in the universe and seeing when it will come back to her. Who knows? Maybe later in the season, maybe season 2. We'll see.
Well, I'm looking forward to, and I hope we get to season 2 and however long it goes, because this is a very cool and fun show. Thank you guys for your time. You guys are awesome.
Thank you so much.
Take care.
Thought she was calling my nickname when she called me a black girl nerd. Hey.
Okay, calm down. We too hyped in here. We too hyped. What's going on, you guys. I'm so excited to talk to you. This series was so fun to me. My college roommate was from Hawaii, and there was tons of people from Hawaii who lived in my dorm when I went to school in Seattle. So to see something centered in Hawaii that's not a cop show and not like, you know, a romance show was very, very fun, because people feel like people in Hawaii are not just living normal lives.
Mhm.
Right.
Like your EP called it a slice of life, and I thought that was very, very cool. Jeffrey, beginning with you, your characters all work in this hospital together, and obviously our young doctor stands out. Is she the coolest person in the room? Because among the peer group, she's might be socially different, but in a hospital setting, she's, you know, up there when it comes to popularity.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that like intellect is like the coolest thing that we could possibly strive for. She is, not only is the character of Lahela, Doogie Kamealoha, the coolest person in any room, but Peyton Elizabeth Lee is one of the coolest human beings I've ever met. When you meet someone who has been working as an actor professionally and basically full-time since they were yay high, there's this level of maturity and emotional intelligence that I just did not embody at 16 years old. So me as Jeffrey, looking at Peyton, I hold her in the highest respect, and I'm constantly in awe of who she is and how she navigates her way through the world. And I think that automatically translated to our on-screen dynamic.
Absolutely. Mapuana, your showrunner and I talked about all of you guys' chemistry and how it was just very natural, how you all interacted with each other. And she mentioned a very meaningful thing you guys did when you take the pilot where you were all shoulder to shoulder and started off today. What did that symbolize for you, and how did that serve as a great starting point for all of you to create this series?
Oh, I'm so glad that she was able to bring that up and talk to you. Yeah, prior to any show that you do in Hawaii, there is a blessing where we all sit together, and it is not necessarily religious. It's more of a cultural and spiritual thing to respect the land, respect each other and where we come from, and to respect the work, and just to take a moment to set intentions for how you want something to go, which, you know, we don't always do in the fast-paced life of Los Angeles or anywhere else that we film. And so I'm so happy to be reminded of that, because it is such a special time that we get to spend with each other as human beings before we go into the work as people in production.
For sure.
Yeah.
Jeffrey, so what type of intentions did you set during this moment that you all had with each other?
My intention has always been the same for several decades of my life now. It's an affirmation that I borrowed from Martin Luther King Jr. and Oprah Winfrey to be used for a purpose greater than myself. I think that this opportunity to, as an openly queer man, to play an openly queer character on a Disney Plus series was a gift and a privilege and a blessing that has not been lost on me for a moment. From the time that I was a kid who was obsessed with all things Disney, and always dreamed in some capacity of being a part of that world, but never knowing exactly how, to now be an adult who has the opportunity to play an openly queer character and to be that representation or that reflection for all the kids who are going to be tuning in. It's that the intention has been fulfilled, to be used for a purpose greater than myself.
That is beautiful. I love it. Diversity cast, beautiful message, intelligence, representation, but without it being too preachy and not just for the sake of being there. It resonates very, very well and is very, very realistic. That's
what I would say about Jeffrey. I mean, he has such a way of, I learned so much from him being on set about, even more so about diversity and queerness and navigating sort of those difficult conversations in a very grounded way. And I think it kind of similarly, the show is also that way. It's very grounded, which you don't really necessarily expect always from a Disney show, but it ends up being that way. And I don't know if that's just, maybe part of the cast potentially.
You guys were wonderful together. It's a unique show. It's cool. Gave me some nostalgia, not only from the Hawaii connection for the Doogie. I'm old enough to remember the OG Doogie. And I love that the mantle has passed into these really cool, capable hands with all of you. Thank you so much for your time. I'm looking forward to chatting with people about the show and enjoying it with them. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Deandra. It's a pleasure.
Kourtney, thank you so much for your time for this project. This was so fun. My college roommate was from Hawaii, so it made me enjoy it even that much more. What was the jumping off point for you for this show, centering it in Hawaii and really a very realistic character? Because we have examples of characters like this that we've seen in the news, young people becoming doctors.
Yes, I always wanted to do a show about my family. I was born in Hawaii. My dad's a local boy. He's a Korean guy. His family was on like the first boat from Korea to Hawaii. My mom's an Irish Catholic lady from upstate Pennsylvania. And so I always wanted to do a show about my family and set it in Hawaii and just explore the way of life there and bring that aloha spirit to the world. And I also grew up loving the original Doogie Howser and watching that show. And when this opportunity came along, it was sort of the perfect storm of, it gave me the opportunity to take this show that I loved and infuse it with my experience and my point of view. And I'm a mom now. I have 3 girls, and I love that they are going to live in a world where there's a Doogie show, but it's a girl at the center who's a mixed race girl who can do all of these things and has these superpowers and cares about the world and wants to do good work. And so it's really exciting to me that this has actually happened.
It is exciting, and it's fun because usually when we think of Hawaii, we think it's either romance or cops. It's or detectives. There's no in between. But now we get another type of story, a fun and loving story. How are you hoping that it lands with people?
Yes, it's very exciting that we get to do these sort of almost slice of life stories, like exactly what you're saying. So often it's solving a murder or, other sort of detective things. And this is really just about this family and what it's like to grow up here, who the people are, what it's like to live here. And so it's been really wonderful to set the story here. And our crew, so much of our crew is local, and we have department heads who are Native Hawaiians, local people, and everyone has come together and put their stamp on it. We're very inclusive and listen to everybody's ideas and stories, and it's the writing staff has all brought their experience to it, and it's really become this story that we've all made our own in our own way.
What I particularly enjoyed is the friend group that's surrounding our good doctor. And I got to thinking, is a really highly evolved person like that the most popular kid or the most nerdy kid when you think of those archetypes and stories? And what was it like how did you make sure she kept that essence of cool and that youth that comes with that age, but still being a highly evolved person who has to maneuver this very early life journey?
Yes. I think we set out to achieve all those things you're saying. And I think we got lucky in our casting. First, Peyton brings so much to the character. And then Mapuana and Jeffrey, who play Noelani and Charles, there was something so great on set that occurred very early on, which was that you just bought that they were all friends, that they were much older than her, but yet still viewed her as a peer and were invested in her. And that friendship there is one of my favorite things. Uh-oh.
There we are, we're still together.
That's so weird. I'm sorry. I think that
That's
might have
okay.
been, I don't know what happened there.
But they're still able to maintain that beautiful friendship and that synergy, because the chemistry was great between all of them. When you when they would gather, to shoot these scenes, did you guys have a mantra or a thing you guys would do all together before you set out upon the day's work?
There was a lovely blessing that we did before we started shooting the pilot, that we all gathered. It was like sunrise. It was this beautiful thing that pulled everyone together. And it was just a great remembrance of how lucky we were to be doing this, especially this, we started shooting the pilot in the beginning of February when COVID, you remember post holidays was everywhere. And it was one of the first times that most of us had been around other people to all be able to gather together. It was really beautiful and like heartwarming in a way that I wasn't expecting. It was sort of like, oh, human connection, standing shoulder to shoulder with people that you're about to do something with. It was really special and spectacular. And I think we all felt so lucky that we got the chance to be in Hawaii and doing this together.
That's awesome. Well, like I mentioned, I particularly enjoyed this. Shout out to Stephanie Lum, who's on the news over there, who was one of my other college friends from Oahu. And it just was very heartwarming to see a series set in that locale. It's very meaningful to me. Thank you so much for your time. And
oh, thank you.
Cool
thank you so much.
Thank you.
Better shake your booties for black girl nerves. Better shake your booties for black girl nerves.